The big thing in video games at the moment is Fortnite Battle Royale. Now, this really is an extension on the popularity of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And Fortnite really takes a lot from this game. But I really don't want to focus on the gameplay of Fortnite. I really want to focus on the actual platform itself and how it relates to Star Wars Battlefront. Now, I'm someone who was extremely excited for Star Wars Battlefront. I was eager to play it in the months leading up to it. I'd watched all of the E3 coverage and the trailers and the beta, and it was something which I believed would be an improvement over the original game. But now looking back, I really can't say it is worse, but there are so many things which I believe it missed the mark completely on. And the main thing for me is really pushing itself as a game as a service. Now, this was bigged up to be the next big thing, games as a service. Now, what does that mean for Battlefront? Really, I'm not sure. They said updates every 2 weeks. Then it got pushed back to every 4 weeks. And that really came down to the fact that the microtransaction system was completely scrapped. And I think the whole marketing behind games as a service hinges on microtransactions being successful and being pushed forward in the correct way. Now, looking at Fortnite, this is a game which was released for free. It has updates constantly. It's actually quite difficult to keep up with all the Fortnite updates, and although it's quite frustrating at times when you want to play the game immediately and you have to update, it's really reassuring to know that this is a game which is actually getting focused on. It is considered an early access game. However, I really think this term's been skewed by all the early access games which have got themselves cancelled or just really not delivered. But I do believe that Fortnite is operating as a constantly updated beta. You get the players into the world and to really experience what's going on with it, and sometimes things don't work, sometimes the balance isn't out, but in the end it's going to be addressed. And that's something I absolutely love about Fortnite. It's amazing to see that this game has a future. Now, back to Star Wars Battlefront, this is a game which really, in terms of updates and communication, has been very poor. It's very difficult to see where this game is moving forward, and it's difficult to understand how it's going to get better because the player base really wants certain things and they're really pushing for certain things. And EA has come back with, oh, we're working on this, so we can't work on that. It's just not reassuring. You want to be safe in the knowledge that this game will be focused on. We will get a season 2 at one point before May, because at the moment it's looking as if it's going to get pushed back until Han Solo comes out. And then we're just stuck with another movie tie-in, and it really plays into the thought that Star Wars Battlefront is simply just a cash grab movie tie-in. And that's something which I really hope it's not going to be, because I want it to be its own entity, something which can stand out from the movies, maybe even get released in a year where the movie isn't coming out. It will push sales, sure, when you release next to the movie, but it just won't be the same if you're rushing to get to this movie release date. And you see constantly games get pushed back and pushed back because they're pushing for perfection. They're not just pushing it out the door and saying, okay, that's us, we'll deal with it later. And you might think, oh, Fortnite, that's that exact thing. They're just pushing out the game and they'll deal with it later. But the gameplay of Fortnite is simplistic enough that it works to its advantage. It has one game mode. There is an ultimate goal, and that's just simply to outlast all of your opponents, whether that is in a team or on your own. And that is really where the advantage is for Fortnite over Star Wars Battlefront, because they don't have to juggle heroes versus villains and the galactic assault and the fact that there's a weapon which is destroying everyone because it's got explosive bullets. So sure, Battlefront is a lot more fleshed out, but it just isn't the same. It's not got that fun factor. You can jump into Fortnite, play a game for 5 minutes, and turn it off, and that will have fulfilled its purpose. You could play for 3 hours in Battlefront and still not feel that sense of fulfillment. Now, really focusing back in on my main point, which is games as a service and where Star Wars Battlefront fails. Now, the main negative about this in Star Wars Battlefront is the star cards. These are things which you have to buy. You can't just unlock them through gameplay and experience. There has to be a monetary purchase. Now, this isn't real world currency at the moment, but you're still having to sacrifice something to pick something else. It's very skill tree like, but it's too basic to be a real fleshed out skill tree. And I think that Star Wars Battlefront just shouldn't have done that. They really should have focused on a microtransaction free progression system and focused the microtransactions on things which are cosmetic. Because as you can see from Fortnite, people love to buy cosmetics. You've got the different outfits and you've got the different dances. Now these are things which don't actually add anything to your ability. They just add to the experience to really immerse you into it. And the thought that you can't add a specific skin for Darth Vader because it's not canon really doesn't hold up well in the long run. If you're going for microtransactions, you should be really pushing for the people who want that extra bit out of the game and people who buy into the original game to get the exact same experience, maybe with a different cosmetic touch. Now I think that's where Fortnite succeeds. You don't even have to buy the game. You just download it and that's you. You're playing the exact same game as everyone else, except they've maybe got a different dance. And I think that is where games as a service should push forward. The cosmetic angle, sure, not everyone will buy into it. People will hate the fact that you have to spend more money. You look at EA, for example, they gain a majority of their revenue in video games from microtransactions. Sure, they'll get more for having a base game price, but if you cut away that base game profits, they're still making money. And in my opinion, if they do that, the customer satisfaction will noticeably go up. And I'm honestly kind of scared that it's too late for EA and Star Wars Battlefront at this point. I feel like that's too far gone, 2 games into the series for this developer. It's a difficult one to turn around. Usually this is a stage where people start jumping ship. And to really change the narrative of this franchise is going to be a difficult one. But as always, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that the overhauled progression system will make things the way I wanted them to begin with, or at least something along those lines, something which I can really enjoy playing and really not get bogged down by the fact that I've been stuck as an officer level 7 for the past 4 months. Anyway, that's my take on it. What do you think about games as a service, and how do you think Fortnite and Star Wars Battlefront fit into all of this? I'd like to know what you think down in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion because I'm trying something new here and I want to know if it's successful or not, and I really want to be able to improve. And as always, I really hope you enjoyed this video and we'll come back for the next time, or even just look at all these videos here.